4 days after the dastardly Pulwama terror attack, India's security forces have now eliminated the masterminds behind that attack that killed 40 CRPF personnel. In a joint operation, the forces blasted a terrorist shelter in Pulwama's Pinglan area, killing top Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists and key Pulwama attack conspirators Abdul Ghazi and Kamran Hilal. 4 security force personnel from India, including an officer and a policeman, have been martyred in the encounter. All the martyred army men belonged to 55 Rashtriya Rifles. A total of 3 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists have been gunned down. The identity of the 3rd terrorist is yet to be ascertained. One civilian also lost his life in the encounter, which began in the wee hours this morning. The hideout was located near the highway where the CRPF convoy was attacked on the 14th of February. The operation in the Pinglan area in Pulwama began after India's armed forces, comprising of the Army, the Central Reserve Police Force or the CRPF and Jammu and Kashmir Police, launched a coordinated search operation after getting information about the presence of terrorists in the area. The armed forces have expanded the search operations now. A coordinated search operation was launched in Pulwama's neighboring district of Shopian as well. Meanwhile, during his joint briefing with Argentine President Mauricio Macri, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the world needed to unite against terror.
मैं और राष्ट्रपति माक्री इस बात पर सहमत है कि आतंकवाद वैश्विक शांति और स्थिरता के लिए बहुत बड़ा गंभीर खतरा है। पुलवामा में हुआ क्रूर आतंकवादी हमला यह दिखाता है कि अब बातों का समय निकल चुका है। अब सारी दुनिया को आतंकवाद और उसके समर्थकों के विरुद्ध एकजुट होकर ठोस कदम उठाने की आवश्यकता है। आतंकवादियों और उसके मानवता विरोधी समर्थकों के खिलाफ कार्यवाही से हिचकना भी आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देना ही है। G20 देशों के तौर पर यह भी महत्वपूर्ण है कि हम आतंकवाद का मुकाबला करने पर हैम्बर्ग लीडर स्टेटमेंट के 11 सूत्री एजेंडा को कार्यान्वित करें।
Earlier in the day, Home Minister of India Rajnath Singh said that the morale of the Indian forces was still high.
हमारे सेना और सुरक्षा के जवानों का मनोबल इस समय ऊंचा है और आप देख रहे हैं कि वह आतंकवादियों को न्यूट्रलाइज करने में कामयाबी हासिल कर रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, the world continues to stand by India in its fight against terror. On your screens now are visuals from Toronto, where members of the Indian community held protests outside the Pakistani consulate in Toronto. A crowd also gathered outside the Victorian Parliament in Melbourne, Australia, to protest against the Pulwama terror attack. The protesters carried banners that read, "Say no to terrorism" and "Pakistan stop supporting terrorism." Melbourne's local councillor, Intaj Khan, too called out Pakistan. He said that Islamabad should stop supporting terrorism. A prayer meeting has also been organised in Sydney's Harris Park on Tuesday to pay homage to the martyrs. Now, after Iran singled out Pakistan on terror, now it's Afghanistan that is protesting against Islamabad's role in the Taliban peace talks. In a strongly worded letter accessed by WION World is One, Afghanistan has said that Pakistan's involvement in the talks violated Afghanistan's sovereignty. On your screens now is the letter addressed to the United Nations Security Council by Afghanistan's permanent mission in New York. Kabul has accused Islamabad of undermining President Ashraf Ghani-led Afghan government by initiating contact with the Taliban. Afghanistan complained to the United Nations Security Council that top Pakistani leaders, including Prime Minister Imran Khan, had invited the Taliban for a meeting. Kabul also made it clear that Islamabad has not sought any consultations with the Afghan government in its talks with the terror group. Afghanistan has made it clear that by engaging with the Taliban, Pakistan was recognizing the terror group as a legitimate authority. In the letter, which was submitted just a day after 40 Indian security personnel were killed in the Pulwama suicide attack, Afghanistan slammed Pakistan for providing a safe haven to terror groups. It said that Islamabad must take action against terror groups which carry out attacks in Afghanistan and other South Asian nations. Earlier, Iran had warned Pakistan against harboring terror groups after a suicide bombing along the Iran-Pakistan border killed 27 of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards. We have Glenn Carl, American author and former intelligence officer, now joining us live from Boston in the US. Glenn, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on WION World as well. Help us understand this now. We're again talking about the global isolation of Pakistan, but it's getting more real because you're seeing all of its neighbors, any country that Pakistan shares a border with, asking the world to take action on Pakistan because it is not eradicating terror from its soil.
Well, these are useful steps. Pressure might have some effect, but I'm frankly a pessimist in the larger scheme of things about the deep effect that will have on Pakistan's policies towards Jaish-e-Mohammed and Kashmir. So long as China provides $50 billion and diplomatic protection and strong relations, then Pakistan isn't too isolated, unfortunately, in this instance. But pressure are the right things to do. One can't accept terrorism as a tool of policy.
But Glenn, the reason why we're having this conversation is that we've seen a Uri happen. The Uri attack resulted in a retaliatory attack, the surgical strike from India. But this time around, it's a national highway in India that's been attacked. And it was very clear that from the explosives that were used, RDX, to many of the reasons that it came from across the border. And this time around, it's 40. It's the worst terror attack on India's security forces in many years. Everybody has taken note. The UK has taken note. The US has taken note. And now, from the grey list in the Financial Action Task Force, where Pakistan finds itself in, now the demand is for a blacklisting of Pakistan. That's the reason why I'm asking, is the isolation, could it be more real this time around?
Well, I think the pressure is greater than it's been. One of the few rational positions that the Trump administration has taken is to turn the pressure up on Pakistan because of its support for terrorism and its lack of support for peace efforts in Afghanistan in particular, and in Kashmir also. So these things will have some effect. The history of the success of sanctions in changing policies of the targets of the sanctions is a weak one. Unfortunately, there are several instances when sanctions have and pressure has affected things. Most recently, historically, with the Iran nuclear accord, it seems that the international sanctions did have some effect. So I'm not arguing against them. I think that these are steps that one should take. I just am, I hope not a cynic, but not too optimistic that Pakistan will change its policies. It's a terrible situation for India to be in.
Absolutely. It is. And that is the reason why I think India will also have exhausted all its patience with this Pulwama terror attack. Look at what's going on in terms of the discourse in the country. People are asking for retaliation and etc., etc. But we all understand that it doesn't work that way. It's far more complex than what it seems like, despite the fact that 40 lives of our security forces have been lost, and that is black and white. Those men are not coming back. But this is a good time then for, if not for global fora, for countries and their individual relationship with Pakistan, especially the most powerful countries in the world, be it the US or the UK, to change. Because it is because of support from such powers that Pakistan has continued with its policy for so many decades.
Well, that's absolutely right. No one has found a solution to this dilemma. From the United States perspective, we've long realized that Pakistan, with one hand, has been actually working with the Taliban, supporting al-Qaeda, working with Jaish-e-Mohammed, creating Jaish-e-Mohammed, et cetera, et cetera. And so we try to oppose that. But on the other hand, without Pakistan, U.S. efforts in Afghanistan would have been almost impossible. Similarly, India has been presented with a hideous casus belli. It's clearly a casus belli what's just happened. But a war would create worse problems than it would solve. So India's in a bind too. What does one do then? I think the measures that you have touched upon, which are increasingly severe sanctions, and Pakistan almost being a failed state, creates other problems too, because too much pressure could make matters even worse. So there are no happy solutions, but I think the least bad ways forward are to increase pressure, as you suggest, yes.
Glenn Carl joining us live from Boston. No happy solutions to the problems on hand. Glenn Carl, thank you so much for joining us here on WION World is One. Now, the government of Pakistan has claimed that it is yet to be officially informed by India of its removal from the most favored nation status. But Pakistani officials acknowledged the developments through media reports and have told WION World is One that the Imran Khan government will hold thorough discussions with its ministries of finance and commerce before coming out with an official response. Imran Khan's advisor Abdul Razak Dawood told that Islamabad may want to speak to India about being stripped of its MFN or most favored nation status. Dawood also said that Pakistan can raise the issue at various forums, including the World Trade Organization. Withdrawal of the most favored nation status means that India can now increase customs duties at any level on goods coming in from Pakistan. A day after India's finance minister announced the decision to revoke the most favored nation status, New Delhi hiked the customs duty on Pakistani goods by 200%. India had granted the most favored nation status to Pakistan in the year 1996. It gave Islamabad non-discriminatory access to Indian markets. But some experts point out that the Imran Khan government will not be able to challenge its removal from the most favored nation status, since under the World Trade Organization norms, member countries must accord most favored nation status to each other on a reciprocal basis. Despite India extending the olive branch to Pakistan in 1996, Islamabad has not accorded the most favored nation status to India yet. And therefore, it has no grounds to challenge the recent developments. Moreover, Article 21 of the World Trade Organization's General Agreement on Tariff and Trade allows a member state to take action that it considers necessary for the protection of its security interests. Meanwhile, Pakistan has called its High Commissioner to India for consultations. Pakistan's Foreign Ministry said that its envoy, Sohail Mahmood, left New Delhi for Pakistan this morning. It comes after the Pakistan High Commissioner was summoned by India. India had asked its envoy to Pakistan, Ajay Bisare, to return to New Delhi after the Pulwama terror attack. Meanwhile, India has suspended Poonch and Uri bus services to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Meanwhile, India is not missing any opportunity to express its displeasure over Pakistan's use of terror as an instrument of state policy. Deepak Mittal, who is presenting India's case in the Kulbhushan Jadhav hearing in the International Court of Justice, appeared to avoid a handshake with the Pakistani delegation. Mittal chose to join hands when a member of the Pakistani delegation extended his hand for a handshake. India has been looking to diplomatically isolate Pakistan on the world stage after the Pulwama terror attack. Now on to the hearing in the Kulbhushan Jadhav case at the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, at The Hague in the Netherlands, that has concluded for the day. India's former Solicitor General Harish Salve represented India in the case. The Indian side argued that Pakistan stands accused of violating the Vienna Convention. India reiterated the fact that it was repeatedly denied consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. Harish Salve also raised up the manner in which Jadhav's family was treated when they were allowed to meet him on the 25th of December 2017. Salve said, and I quote, India was dismayed at the manner the meeting with Jadhav's family was conducted and wrote a letter on the 27th of December marking its protest, unquote. India had moved the International Court of Justice in May 2017 against the farcical trial by the Military Court of Pakistan against 48-year-old Kulbhushan Jadhav. Jadhav, a retired Indian Navy officer, was sentenced to death by a Pakistani military court on charges of espionage and terrorism in April 2017. We spoke to senior Supreme Court advocate KTS Tulsi on the matter, listening to his perspective.
Vienna Convention, there were 17 requests for consular access which were denied. And the one which was permitted was also in clear violation of the Vienna Convention. If you will recall, the Mr. Jadhav's family, that is mother and wife, were asked to remove their Mangal Sutra and bangles and bindi before going into the chamber where the interview was to take place through the partition of glass. They were asked to change their clothes. They were prevented from talking in mother tongue. The wife's shoes were not returned. The Deputy High Commissioner was allowed to join them after much persuasion. And you see, there was clearly a lot of psychological trauma that was writ large on his face.
The 2019 Laureus World Sports Awards have kicked off in Monaco with Indian NGO YUVA winning the prestigious Sport for Good award. Members of YUVA were presented the award by Laureus Academy Chairman Sean Fitzpatrick, with legendary football manager Arsene Wenger, five-time Olympic champion Missy Franklin and 1984 Olympic gold medalist Nawal El Moutwakkal also on stage to felicitate the team. YUVA uses football as a tool to empower young girls in the Indian state of Jharkhand to overcome violence and child marriage and chart their own future's course. There are over 450 girls who use sport to escape from the grim realities of their life, and YUVA also empowers them by running educational programs as well as life coaching. YUVA is the second organization from India to win the Sport for Good award after another NGO, Magic Bus, won in 2014. The Indian and Pakistani cricket teams also shared the same award for playing the 2004 series despite the political tensions between the two countries.